I'm really excited that a number of my favorite theme parks are reopening, and I thought I'd use this as an opportunity to talk about a number of futuristic thrill rides that I'd love to ride one day. I think I'll see some of these in my lifetime. When I was a kid, I got fascinated with the idea of digging a hole through the earth. I had family members in Taiwan, and I just imagined myself jumping into the hole and just flying out of the hole in Taiwan. I had a hard time imagining what that would look like as a kid. I thought you would just continue flying up to the sky, and then I realized that. Gravity pulls you to the center of the earth. So I imagined of just barely making it to Taiwan and waving around and flying all the way back to the United States and so on and so forth, right? Obviously, there's also friction, so you're not going to fly all the way to the surface in Taiwan. But it made me think about some other ways we could travel to Taiwan. And around the same time, I started to like going to theme parks as well. I imagined building a roller coaster that was tangent to the surface of the earth, and you would have an engine in here driving the roller coaster. So you would start at zero here, and then it would blast you off, right? And then you would roll back, and then at the center of the ride, it would blast you again in this direction until you were going thousands of miles across, right? The earth has a diameter of about 8,000 miles. I would imagine that about the biggest you can make that roller coaster is probably that 8,000 miles, right? Because you need some support structure holding that ride in place, right? But that's not bad either, right? That's a quarter of the way up to geostationary orbit. I used to love drop tower rides as well, right? This is a ride that has an elevator. It takes you up 20 or 30 stories high, and then it drops you, right? And it made me wonder what would happen if you built that ride all the way up to geostationary orbit of 22,236 miles. At that height, the velocity it takes to orbit the Earth is about the same as going around the world every 24 hours, right? So just the Earth orbiting, the Earth rotating itself would put you in orbit once you get that high, right? Assuming you built the ride over the equator. Actually, my drawing's not too good for that. But if you build that right above the equator, you would be weightless at the top of that ride. And then on the way down, the ride could give the car a little bit of a push, right? Just enough to lower it a little bit. Now gravity will take over, and you would enter the atmosphere at about 25,000 miles per hour, right? So you'll need some rockets to slow you down on the way into the atmosphere. I also thought about the idea of using a very big tower for travel purposes, right? So here we have an elevator. It doesn't quite take you to geostationary orbit, but at various places you could jump out and land in different cities around the world, right? Maybe we have a floor that takes you to New York City and another floor that takes you to Tokyo and so on and so forth, right? So this would be useful for travel, right? You could have one elevator shaft and people could get off at different floors to go to different cities, right? I also had some ideas about time travel. I imagined you could go into an elevator that spins you at a good fraction of the speed of light, right? And if you would stop aging and the world outside would continue to age, right? There's one particular application I can think of this in my real life. I'll let you think about this. Sometimes I meet somebody who's many years my junior, who would otherwise be a good match. And it makes me wish I could go into that elevator to wait for her to grow up, right? I was dating a girl who was 22, 23 years old just before the COVID-19 crisis, and I often wished I had a device just like that, right? Another way this could come into play is if you have some kind of investment idea that's going to take time, right? Hundreds of years. And I wouldn't do that, though, because when I would come out, everybody I knew would be gone, and I think money can't really replace that. So that's probably not the best application. But a few years to wait for somebody that I like to grow up, that is otherwise a good match to grow up, I think that's a good idea. Thanks for watching.